Hi everyone, my name is Daniel from FreeGunSafety.com, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and talk about the three most important things to worry about when you're handling a firearm. These are three, I like to call them golden rules. You'll hear them called the three nevers or the three always. Everybody has their own different ways of explaining these, but they all boil down to essentially the same thing. So I just wanted to go over these three very important things that you need to know before you handle a firearm. Because if you don't know these, if you forget one of them, if you get lazy one time, a very, very unfortunate situation can happen. So, rule number one is never point the muzzle at anything you don't want to destroy. Any person, pets, valuable things. If you like it and you like it intact, don't point a gun at it. And also bear in mind, bullets can bounce. So don't point a gun at anything that it can potentially ricochet off of, any hard surface. Because some rounds, even a .22, can ricochet and go quite a long ways and still carry most of its energy and do a lot of damage. So that's rule one, is we never point a gun at anything we don't want to destroy. Rule number two is you never assume a firearm is unloaded. You always check, you always confirm. And you've probably heard this a bunch of times. In a second I'm going to go over and I'm going to give a really quick demonstration on how to clear several different firearm actions so you actually understand what I'm talking about at this point. But just because it's closed, just because there's no magazine, just because it looks safe, doesn't mean that it is. We always open up the action, open up the chamber, and physically look in and make sure there's no rounds in any firearm. That's how accidents happen. You hear all these news stories of so-and-so shot their neighbor because they didn't know the gun was loaded. All it takes is a 10-second chamber check, and that incident would have been avoided. So that's rule number two. Rule number three is we never touch the trigger until we're ready to shoot. And by ready to shoot, we mean we know the condition of the weapon, we know what our target is, we know what's around and behind our target, because every once in a while we all miss. So we always want to be sure of what's around and behind our targets. But you go through stuff. So and whenever you're handling the gun, whether it's in your own home, you're at the range getting ready to shoot, you're at a gun store looking to buy a gun, just never touch that trigger until you're ready to shoot. Okay? If you keep your finger off the trigger, the gun's not going to go off. So that's rule number three. So number one, never point the muzzle at anything you don't want to destroy. Number two, never assume that a gun is unloaded. And number three is never touch the trigger until you're ready to fire. So now we're going to step over this table and I have some stuff arranged, and I'm going to show you where to safely place your finger so that you're not near the trigger, and we're going to go over how to clear a couple different actions of guns. Okay, so now we're going to go over how to quickly check the chambers of several different firearm types so we can make sure the guns are unloaded, okay? So this is a very important step. You'll hear it a lot, but not a lot of videos actually show you how to do this, so I wanted to take the time to do that. I'm going to start with one of my personal favorites. This is a pump shotgun. This particular one is a Mossberg 500, but they all operate basically the same way. So right here we got a closed bolt, so we want to open this chamber. To do that, we press this release, which is right here behind the trigger. So we lift this up all the way to the rear. Now we can see inside the chamber. You can see the bolt is open, the weapon is unloaded. At this point, this gun would be considered safe. This is a semi-automatic rifle. This is an AR-15 with a .22 caliber upper on it. So again, we have a closed bolt. We don't know the condition of this gun. We want to open it up. So we grab the charging handle right here, pull to the rear, and then press the bolt lock, which is right here on the other side. You got to lift this in with the bolt all the way to the rear. This gun does lock open a little, but not all the way. It's a good idea to have a chamber flag so you can stick it in there. That'll hold it open. It's usually orange or yellow. Big bright thing sticking out of the side so everyone in the range can verify that this weapon is empty. This is a double action revolver. Revolvers are very simple. Cylinders, both the chambers and the magazine. So it's one move to open them both. We just push and the cylinder pops right out. So we're pushing on this release right here. On this Smith & Wesson, it goes forward. Some Rugers, it goes down towards the opposite side of the frame. Some Colts, there's a section right here that you pull to the rear. But they all operate the same way. You move something back here, and then the cylinder pops right out. This is a single action revolver. It may look the same, but it has to go through a very, very different steps for clearing it. This is something I definitely wanted to bring up because when I was in my instructor class, out of the 4 of us who all had shooting experience, I was the only one who knew how to do this because single actions are a little bit smaller of a market, so not everybody's familiar with them. The first thing we have to do is we open the gate, and then in this particular one, this is a Ruger single 6, we drop it at half cock. Not all guns you have to do that. Some will spin freely when you open the gate. But then we look through the gate and we check every single chamber. Some revolvers have 5, some have 6, you'll see 7, 8, 9, even 12 shot revolvers. So you want to make sure you check them all. You can just spin real quick, you know it's clear. This is an older semi-automatic pistol. This is a Ruger Mark I. Just like the rifle, we have a closed bolt, pull to the rear, and we lift up on the safety in this case. So we lift this up as we pull to the rear. Now we can see the chamber, the weapon is safe. This is a bolt-action shotgun. You might be more familiar with bolt-action rifles, but they operate the same way. We simply lift up on the knob, pull to the rear. Very, very simple. Now we can see the chamber, the weapon is empty. This is one of those different styles of double-action revolvers I was telling you about. Rather than have a release back here, the release on this one is actually the same as the case ejector. So we pull forward, and then we kick our cylinder. Rather than messing with anything back here, we just pull forward on this little knob, and the cylinder falls right out. This is a lever action rifle. Just like its name implies, it's opened by a lever. So we put our fingers in the loop and go down and forward. It'll only follow one motion, so it's very easy to do. One thing when you're handling a lever gun, whenever you close it, be very careful not to have your trigger finger in the guard, because as you come up, if you hit that trigger, you can fire. So we always leave our trigger finger outside the guard anytime we work the lever. This is the last one I wanted to go over because it's a little bit rarer of a design, but at the same time, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get in trouble at a range. This particular weapon is a Remington 742. It is box fed with a box fed magazine, but this bolt will not lock open with the magazine out of the gun. So to lock this bolt open and make it safe, we have to have the magazine in, which most ranges don't consider a safe weapon. So a weapon like this, you'd have to bring a chamber flag, stick it in there, then close the bolt on the flag and remove the magazine. And we'll go over more details of that in the rifle video. But just be aware that this is a very, very general demonstration. There's little oddballs. There's break opens that we haven't covered because I don't have any with me right now. So this is all just general stuff just to give you an idea of what's required to make these weapons safe. Now when it comes to trigger finger position, if you noticed every time I picked one of these up, my finger was outside the guard except on the lever gun when I demoed it. This is known as indexing our trigger finger. Right here, index finger just along the frame, right above the trigger. This can be done with any firearm. Rifle, pistol, fingers just above the trigger. Everyone can see that I'm not anywhere near that trigger. Not going to touch it. Shotgun. Just the same grip on all these firearms. Sometimes you'll see people in an effort to keep their trigger fingers away, grip like this, with all the fingers below the guard. And yes, this is a safe carry, but one, you have much less control of the gun, it's loose in your hand, and two, this isn't a proper grip. By gripping like this, the rest of your hand is in an otherwise correct position. Your trigger finger's just indexed along. So the rest of your grip is correct.